Multiversus Season 1.
And Lara Croft gets into cannibalism. Num, 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 num. Welcome, friends, listeners, dear Patreon, if you are one of them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Welcome to Triangle Square, a PlayStation podcast. I am your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, as has been for quite some time now, the one, the only, the eponymous
Chris Figs. What's up, Brett?
Bro, my computer just started sounding like a jet engine.
Oh, boy.
I almost wonder if you can hear it. It's never sounded this loud.
I can't hear it, but you should try putting it next to some steel beams.
That's true.
Maybe they'll melt.
Could learn a lot about how hot it may be. But welcome. If you're new to the show, we welcome you. Hope you enjoy what you end up hearing and what we talk about. We hope you end up being part of the community and joining around in with other people and being part of the community's take, where we look at the last episode main topic and give you guys a chance to chime in. But we like to start the show off at a time-honored tradition, and that is a simple look at what Chris and I have been playing. And that is so that we can update each other on what may be worth playing, but as well as you guys on what may be playing in this particular time. So, Chris, start with you, as I know one of your games, and I can break the fourth wall and tell you I can see your list. But what you've been playing this week, let the people know.
Killzone Mercenary, as we both have been playing that. Speaking of both of us playing that, you should look who's in your match right now, because it's me.
Hey! Wait, am I the host?
Yeah, you're hosting.
Look at that.
Double hosting duty for Brett Beck.
Yep, hey. Not very many can do it, but I do it with a plum.
You do.
I wish I could pull a fucking plum, the fruit, out right now. That would be top tier comedy, but alas. And then right there, I pull a girl up from underneath the table. This is just, you could train this. And then I pull up the singer of Train.
Yeah, what you're saying is this needs to be a scripted show. But yeah, no,
one time we should do a scripted one.
I'm down. But yeah, no, a lot of Killzone Mercenary. I've been playing Siphon Filter and some Apex Legends.
So what's up with Siphon Filter? Because I thought you already played that and said it was terrible. Controlling, because I mean, it's an old game. I played it
on Vita and said it was terrible. Now I'm playing.
I thought recently that you'd played the PS5 one. Maybe it was someone else that I know who was like, God, it's rough, which I assume it probably is.
Well, the end of my sentence was going to be, I'm playing it on PS5 and it is terrible. But
fair enough.
The game itself is good. Like, I'm having fun. I like the story, but I had to, you can make fun of me all you want, but I had to follow a guide because I didn't know what the hell the game wanted me to do. I had no clue what the game was trying to get me to do. So I threw on a guide. I feel like, and I was like, oh, okay. Go ahead.
I feel like that's par for the course for PS1 games. Not all, like, but you know, outside of like the platformers that just point you in the direction you need to go, and it kind of becomes evident. Games that were a little bit more like I'm gonna be honest, man. When I was a kid, Metal Gear Solid 1 confused the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
and it's still easily the least accessible one of them all because it's designed in such a way where it's not always clear what it wants you to do, and you're kind of just like, maybe this. Like, it's easier to figure it out as an adult, but yeah, if you're just trying to experience the story, because I don't know how good the gameplay for the original Siphon Filter would be at this point. That's like so far removed in my memory that
it's super fine.
When I think of Siphon Filter, I really think of Logan and even the gameplay as they were for both of the PSP entries, which I guess is recency bias because they're both the newest ones. But I also just played the hell out of those. They were really good.
Yeah.
You should play those.
Well, they'll probably be on the PS Plus collection eventually. But
they got rated in Korea, so I don't know why they haven't. But go ahead.
They'll show up. The biggest thing I can say about this is I am pretty sad that there's not more of these. Because it's kind of it's a cool story to have like your secret spy, like James Bond guy doing all this weird, like defusing random bombs and killing Russian women in trains. Which, oh my god, dude, that mission! I don't know if you've played Siphon Filter 1.
Yeah, the original.
The mission where you have to dodge trains and shoot that woman while you're dodging. That was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I hated that. I hated it.
As a kid, it was cool, but that's because there was no context.
Yeah. It's neat, cool mechanics, sucks to play. Like I was not having fun. Even the mission before that, where everything is on fire, but the game controls so bad, and if you accidentally touch the fire, you instantly die, instantly pass away. And it's like I died in that fire like 80 freaking times.
Are you playing with the analog stick?
Yeah.
You should probably play it with the D-pad because that's kind of what it was designed for.
Yeah.
I think it might actually help. As crappy as that is, there are a few games that while they support analog stick control,
you shouldn't play them.
Basically, the analog stick is just trying to emulate the D-pad, but it just doesn't work the same way.
I don't know, man. I like it enough that I'll probably see it through, and quite frankly, the platinum is easy enough that I'll see it through. But good lord, I'm glad I live now when games are fun.
There's someone right now who's like, PS1 is the greatest game console and the greatest games library of all time. There's a lot of great games for PS1, but they don't. Context matters. They're great in your memory, and even then, they're great to replay when you've played them before. But if you were playing a lot of PS1 games for the first time without any kind of nostalgia tied to them right now, I think I'll give it a little bit. I'd say 8 out of 10 games you would find like, oh, this is not really that good in modern context.
No,
even if they're still fun.
This might be a hot take, but it's people who will talk about like the SNES or the SNES, and they'll be like, "Oh, these games are all incredible." I know this is a little hyperbolic, but I'm going to say it anyway. All those games are the exact same thing.
2D games fare better with age,
the same
because you don't have to fumble through that weird 3D era for early. So I get where you're coming from, though. They're all very similar because they were limited to 2D. So a lot of the games are just
not
very
similar
designed.
Brett, similar is not what I'm saying. They are the same. Jurassic Park, Super Mario World, Aladdin, and Castlevania are all the same game. They're all the same game. They just have slightly different mechanics. But you know what you do in all of them? You jump, you attack with the same button, and you move to the left. Sometimes you might move to the right, but not very often, because they're all the same. You know, talking to me about like Earthbound or something like that, like fine, that's different. But 99.9% of the SNES library is the same game over and over again.
Look, man, I'm going to let you have that. I don't know. There's a lot of games I love, and I still will admit that they have, like, again, I'm going to call them similarities. They're all designed around the same basic design philosophy because it was what you had in the era of 2D games for the most part. You had those few standout games, but for the most part, you're right. I can't really think, even games that I would say are a little different, like Sonic Spinball is one of my favorite Genesis games of all time. And I bring that up because I have more experience with the Genesis than I did the SNES. But point being, some of my favorite games are games like Booger Man and Earthworm Jim later on and stuff too, where they're very similar games in that regard. But did you have Sonic Spinball, which is essentially a platformer / pinball game, which was awesome and amazing, and I love it.
Right. I'm not saying that you can't vary the games and do interesting stuff. What I can tell you is that you could close your eyes and pick any game on my emulator machine, and you'd be able to play it because it's all the same. It's all the same fucking thing. Oh, Dracula's here, and he's off to the left this time.
It's accessible.
Accessible.
You can just turn any game on and you know immediately how to play it.
That's that. Yeah, you know what?
The golden age of games were accessible. These newfangled 3-dimensional games,
these fucking,
where you can be a cat or a damn robot.
these fucking boomers will sit here and go, oh, you Gen Z, you're here with your participation trophies and everything is easier for you. All your fucking games were the same. That's a participation trophy, dog. All your games are the fucking same. All your games are the same. Okay? I got Apex Legends, and I got God of War, and I got Guilty Gear. You have Castlevania, Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World, the Yoshi's Mario, Donkey Kong, which is the same as Mario, but with a monkey. It's all the same game.
There's someone right now that's like, he just listed the greatest games of all time. And I know. And I'm not a big Mario fan, so I'm just over here like, eh.
If you have never played any of those Mario games before, I could put freaking Doki Doki, whatever they cloned Mario with. I could put the worst Mario game from that era and what everyone calls the best Mario game from that area in front of that person. They wouldn't know the difference. No chance they would know the difference.
Yeah, probably not.
Freaking participation trophies, my ass.
If you put 2 Mario games in front of me, I'd be like, honestly, from that era, like, once you move into 3D, I can clearly identify 64, Sunshine, the Galaxy games. I can't tell you if it's Galaxy 1 or 2, but I can tell you it's probably Galaxy. You know what I mean?
But I might put Odyssey, Galaxy 1, and Galaxy 2 next to you, and I bet, without the obvious, you wouldn't tell me which is which because they're the same.
To be fair, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and this isn't against you because you weren't acting like Sonic isn't, but for anybody who's looking, Sonic is also, if you've never played a Sonic game, you can put Sonic 1, 2, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3, and most people would be like,
and for the record, before anyone gets in the Discord and comes at me and says this, I am throwing stones in glass houses as a Pokemon fan, but I don't give a shit because I've been saying on this show that I want all the games to be the same. I don't want them to change. So shove that shit up your ass and leave me alone. Brett, what have you been playing this week?
Can we do like a Chris rant section at the beginning of every episode now?
I'm down. I had fun.
Where you just bring up some random topic.
Oh my god! I
don't agree with.
I don't know that we need to talk about Red Dead anymore on this show.
Maybe not. You're going to dedicate an entire episode to Red Dead Redemption.
I'm gonna chase hard an interview with someone from Rockstar North just so I can have them on the show. I can shit on the game the whole time with a person directly responsible for causing me misery on our show.
Oh no, it is a funny idea to like frame it. Well, you're being incredibly nice the entire time, but you're framing them as like key card questions where it's like, all right, and what gave you the right? What gave you
Red Dead?
What gives you the right?
You guys did a wonderful job. I know you guys were crunching really hard on Red Dead Redemption 2. How much of that crunch could have been saved if you sped up the animations for opening drawers? Would someone not be divorced today if you sped up the animation for opening drawers? And conversely, could you have spent more dev time on giving me a skip animation button? Love the game. Doing great work. Could you answer that question for me?
Could you have updated the online more than once?
Yeah. Mr. Hauser, wonderful to see you. What the fuck is your problem?
All right. We're going to move on. Apex Season 14 was clearly your thing, too. You've been still loving your Apex grind?
I have been still loving the Apex grind.
There you go. It was
great.
For all the things you hate, there's at least one thing you love.
And again, I will preemptive strike. Every game of Apex is the same. Shut up. I still want to play.
I don't even have to be devil's advocate
on the hypocrisy here because I feel the hypocrisy.
I was born in it. Molded by it. All right. So I've been playing Killzone Mercenary as well. And I got to throw it out there. This is like a bittersweet, weird thing that, I had replayed this game last year. Had a fantastic time doing so. And I tried playing online back then. And I got a few games, but they were pretty low, like pretty dead, not really active. And, while it's real easy to say like, oh, you're only loving the game and playing it because everybody's trying to get the trophies. No, the trophies are the reason that everyone's coming back. But all that's doing is creating a situation in which the servers are full and you get to relive that feeling of what this game was like when it was really firing on all cylinders and PlayStation hadn't shit all over the Vita. Just completely Amber Hearded the whole situation. Oof. But
that was good. What do you think the chances are Sony and Guerrilla are like, yo, game's huge right now. People just like 50 million people just bought Bot Zone. What's going on? We got to keep the servers up.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I almost bought Bot Zone, but I thought, wait a minute, Bot Zone probably dies with the server.
I almost bought it too. And then I was just like, well, I can just spin around in circles indefinitely. Because I was at the beginning when I wasn't sure how it worked. I was like, maybe I have to keep hitting this loadout button. And then I was eventually like, I'll just wait. And it spawned me back in. And I was like, cool, this is running overnight for the next week. And that's what's happening. Yeah.
Well, it's been funny because I think a little differently, partially because of schedule and job and work relations and everything going on. I've been doing that at night while I'm sleeping. And while I'm working, but if I'm in a situation where I can be playing the game, I have been mainlining nothing but this multiplayer and a little bit like at one point last night, my thumb was hurting like legit. And I was like, okay, I got to take a break from multiplayer because what I've discovered is there are good players still coming out of the woodworks, but I'm really good at this game, which is not a surprise to me because I was really good at Killzone 3 as well. And this in many ways is just Killzone 3 with some nice, unique twist to it. But I've been having a blast. And so I'm really playing. And my favorite thing is like when you get a group of an entire thing where of the 8 people, either all 8 people are actually playing and trying, or at the worst case scenario, you have one person, maybe 2, one on each team, or not team, because I've been doing free for all. It's my favorite. Anyway, it's been that thing where it's like when it's firing on all cylinders, it's so fucking fun. But I'm working so hard. So I started doing some of the intel runs because I needed to do it anyway to get some of the other trophies. And it still earns towards your Valor rank for the next day. So I've taken a few breaks. But I have been mainlining. And at one point that became apparent to me because I looked at Chris, and Chris online for the week had like 40 kills online. And I was at like 411. And I was like, okay, nice. I see where we are. That was like 2 days ago when I was looking.
Well, it was funny because I was doing the document for the show. And I was like, I'll leave this. I usually put a comma so you can add more games if I know one of the games you did. And in this one, I was like, Killzone Mercenary, period, on yours. I was like, I know this dude has not played another game.
Once you've got me to finally do it, and I was like, all right, we're doing it. I have not touched anything else at all. Not even remotely. Yeah. My wife has just been like, what's going on? I said, listen, you just have to understand. This is grind time.
It's grind time, baby.
I said I can spend time with everyone. I can talk with people. I can do everything after the 12th. I can't do this after the 12th.
Yeah, I hope that we both.
I think part of it was that. Me too, man. I think the thing that really got me is that the first real match that I got into, where it was like a full match, and I was like, dude, I forgot how fun this was. And then it just became this thing where it was like a whole night where I messaged you. I was like, dude, I started to just try and play one match and ended up being a full thing. And like me and 5 other people were actually going at it. And that turned into the rest of the 3 hours before bed of me just being like, fuck yeah, going at it. And then the next day was just the entire day. It was just like, it was all of Sunday. I just mainlined like 12 hours of Mercenary. But it was a good time. I had a good time.
It's a lot of fun.
I can't believe, and I get it because there's not sales and there's all these business numbers and things, but this goes back to that idea of thinking with your calculator, like as we were talking about. But I can't believe they closed down Cambridge because I can't imagine that the benefits they got from the knowledge of sheer tech benefit that they had from that team wasn't worth keeping around in some form or capacity, even if it's not for original titles, as some kind of a support or satellite studio or something like that, because there's so many things about this game. I have still yet to be wowed in the way that I am consistently wowed right now, partially because of the context of it being the Vita, but I have not had a game on Switch make me go, holy shit, I can't believe I'm playing this on a handheld. And that has not happened for Switch at all. But there's been multiple times where I've been replaying campaign missions yet again, and I'm like, this is so fucking cool. Dude, the beginning mission where you come in and you go and you end up and it's cool that it's all in engine. All the cutscenes are like real time, and it transitions the gameplay flawlessly on a handheld. Jumping out of that first building and then skydiving through the whole city and then landing into that other thing and smoothly going right back into gameplay. I was like, this shit feels like I'm playing a straight up console game more so than anything on Switch has ever done. I don't, it's weird. So I'll continue to sing my praises for Killzone probably for the next few things, but I can't believe that with how crazy technical this game was able to pull off on the limited stuff of the Vita, that they didn't keep them around. I mean, Riggs, their PSVR game, was also crazy good looking, and it was really fun, and it just didn't sell enough, and that sucks. But RIP Cambridge, you did great. Your game is fun. Literally the only thing I think I have to complain about is that you did not clearly outline how the fuck the Valor system works.
Oh. God.
That's it. That's genuinely my only issue with the game.
I'll play devil's advocate on this one. Killzone.com is dead, and it could very well be somewhere in those forums, but we just can't find it anymore.
Maybe, but it should be in your game. And the same thing I've always said about Destiny. If for me to have like your game story, if I have to leave your game and go elsewhere, you've made a mistake.
Yeah. That's why I like.
You've already, because if I get into the story and then I decide to go onto your website and read the story with your damn whatever cards that you got in Destiny, I can't remember what they're called anymore.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's such a grimoire cards. Yeah.
Yes.
That's such a bad idea, because you're just telling me to leave your game on a game that's whole point is to thrive under people being consistently in the game. So whatever, it is what it is. But other than that, I was talking about Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth last week, and I ended up grabbing that and playing that. And before Killzone Mercenary, I put about 15 hours into that the past week because I was really into that. That's all I was doing because, again, I hyperfixate on games. So I will go back to Cyber Sleuth most likely after Killzone is out of my system. But point being, Cyber Sleuth is really fun. And I'm really not trying to shit on the Vita. I mean, shit on the Switch. That's kind of ironic. But as much as I was liking Rune Factory 5, I just think the game is so bad looking and it ran so poorly that Cyber Sleuth looks phenomenal on Vita. And I watched a friend play it on Switch, and I can't tell the difference. And I'm like, wow, good for them. So it's one of those things where I'm just kind of appreciating the Vita more. The whole point of me doing Cyber Sleuth, which I could have done on Switch, and maybe even a little easier, was just having a reason to play my Vita again, and I've been glad to do so. Been very good, very fun. If you haven't played Cyber Sleuth, it's really fun. It's kind of it does a lot of the Digimon. I mean, it does a lot of the Pokemon ideas, but it does them in the Digimon way that I think has always made Digimon slightly more interesting than Pokemon. Whether or not it's better, the ideas are interesting. I love the idea. What, Chris? Go ahead. What was that face?
Okay.
Okay, let me say, interesting to me, clearly. I love Pokemon. But let me go through what I'm talking about, and maybe you'll understand. But
I'm happy to let you
where I'm coming from is that I like that there's way more planning that goes into when to digivolve, what to digivolve into, to de-digivolve, so that you can eventually get to a different pre-form, so that you can re-evolve into a different thing, so that you can go down a different evolution tree. And that creates a really interesting things where it's like, okay, going to rotate through Digimon more because you want to get to a certain end goal point. I think it makes the leveling process feel more interesting and feels like you're getting a sense of. And part of this is the way I'm playing. I play Pokemon. I end up choosing a team, and then you kind of get tired of seeing the same team consistently. Eventually, not like super tired, but enough to where it's like, I should probably switch something else in, but I know this team too well. So I like that. I like the aspect that they changed catching into something where it's like the more you battle with them, the more you scan them. This is specific to Digimon because it's digital, but I like the idea that you scan something enough times and you can just recreate it in the lab and then have that Digimon as part of your group and team. So those things are cool. I think that biggest thing is that Pokemon stories in their games have always been simplistic because they're meant to be for kids. Digimon's always tried to have slightly more mature stories. And Cyber Sleuth is really fun in the fact that there's a story that's compelling me to play it. So for those reasons, I'm really enjoying it. I'm also looking forward to Violet. And actually, we got to talk about Violet and Scarlet right now, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Violet and Scarlet. Great colors.
What are your thoughts?
Can't wait. I'm going to buy them.
Okay.
Probably buy both of them because I'm insane.
I think it looks fine. Like, it looks good enough.
It's no Digimon.
There's things. There's look. I'm putting that aside right now. I don't know how I feel about how stupid the legendaries look. Becoming
I love the legendaries. Are you joking?
I hate it. Okay, hate's a strong word. I think it looks really goofy in a way that is hard. I don't even know why I'm surprised because Pokemon's so kid friendly, but it makes me think, it makes my mind go immediately. And maybe it's that I'm jaded and there's that jaded part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decided to put Duelist on motorcycles with 5Ds when I was a teenager. And you know, when you're a teenager, you hate on things. I mean, I'm wrong. I still ultimately think the idea of putting Duelists on a motorcycle is stupid. Even if apparently that season it's got some cool stuff in it, or that series. So maybe it's that, but it just looks so cheesy. I don't know. But bigger gameplay things that are going to come down from it. I think it's pretty weird to basically be starting the game with the titular legendaries. That's why I'm almost like, I'm curious as to what's happening. There's got to be another trio? Maybe? I don't know. It's like, how much are they going to change of Pokemon right now? It's a good question.
I think
you don't want to change anything, so
nothing at all. I think my biggest problem with the legendaries is that they're clearly motorcycles, but they run with feet. It's like, dog, you drew tires on them. Just make the tires go. The tires can be their feet. Why do they have feet? They have tires.
I mean,
make it make sense, Brett.
Make it make sense. I can't do that one. Outside of Cyber Sleuth, been still doing my old school RuneScape here and there. I clearly Killzone killed that for a little bit, but today I decided to hop in and finish leveling out my defense training that I was doing. So your boy hit 70 defense, so I can wear the cool stuffs now. But yeah, I basically I'm training so I can do more questing, because questing is where the fun is in RuneScape. Training is all right. I mean, I made a bunch of money off of training, so that's cool. But that's it. So I guess that means it's time to move into the news, but that's actually not right, because before that, it's time to move into the community's take, which I see we did not do on here. My bad.
No,
I will get those pulled up. Oh, that's okay. You've spoiled me, Chris. You've led me to believe that they will be in this document.
That's a good point.
It's okay, though. We all fail. But when we fail, it's about how much harder we can come back and succeed.
Okay, The Rock.
Listen, man.
Oh, drive. It's
well, my
power.
laptop just died because apparently it's not plugged in. My bad. 1 second.
All right, we will go to Discord. The community's take question was, how do you typically approach gaming? Do you move fast between a lot of games per day/week? Do you hyperfixate on a single game until you completed it, or decide you're done? Or do you land somewhere in between? To that question, we have Rude Days 93, who says, I usually have a nice chunk of games I'm going through and many moving pieces. Right now, with friends, I play Fortnite and Rocket League. Forza 5 and Fall Guys are the games I play while listening to podcasts, and I have a few story games going on right now with Wolfenstein, As Dusk Falls, although I would play the hell out of it As Dusk Falls.
As Ducks Fall. Yeah.
And Horizon Forbidden West. They shuffle around when I finish or just drop the game for something, but usually I have at most 7 to 10 games going. Unless I get really into the story of a game like Mass Effect, I'll basically just play through until completion. This usually helps me stay away from having that burnout on games that can occasionally happen. My man, as Denzel Washington would say. because I vibe with that very hard.
Yeah, I definitely think that I know you're a big listen to podcast, play games. That's actually Saul's thing too. I can only do that with certain types of games, and I tend to focus on games that are very story heavy, and so that doesn't work for me. But I think if I played more games like Killzone Mercenary, I've actually been kind of not podcasting, but I've been doing the TV thing that I do. I've been rewatching The Hard Times of RJ Berger. It's not on any fucking streaming service, so I just bought the seasons on Amazon because fuck it all. I like the show enough anyway. I already know that. But I just felt like someone should know. MTV owns this fucking series and doesn't have to do anything but put it on something. They have Paramount Plus. All their stuff's on Paramount Plus, except for fucking RJ Berger. I went through it yesterday. I was like, this is pointless. Also, Paramount Plus has got terrible UI. It's super slow and clunky, and nothing I hate worse than bad streaming service UI.
Well, maybe they know that RJ Berger is just packing too much heat.
But yeah, I think that the idea of kind of being able to do that, I think I need to start working on myself, trying to have a game that is multiplayer where I can come in and out of it a little easier without having to worry about getting hyperfixated on it. But I'm gonna have to really fight myself not to get hyperfixated on it, because Killzone should have been that. Killzone has an excuse. I have to be done with all the online aspects by the 12th. But
it sounds like you're saying you're finally going to accept one of my Apex invites.
I don't know about that one, Chris.
Man,
maybe.
Fuck you.
Hey, you know what? Keep hope alive. You can't have no in your heart. Life's a garden. Dig it.
I got super into Yu-Gi-Oh because you wanted me to. You could play one fucking game of Apex with me.
Hold on. I didn't want you to get into Yu-Gi-Oh. I just wanted you to try Yu-Gi-Oh, and then you got super into it. You hyperfixated, sir.
You knew that would happen. You know me well enough to know that when you said we're going to go buy some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you knew I was going to spend $400 at once.
Listen, no, I know that now. I had inklings in my mind, but I thought that your level of lack of self-control was specifically towards video games. I didn't realize that it extended also into everything.
It's everything.
But I know now in the future. Coming along. Hey, I mean, your Yu-Gi-Oh card collection ain't half bad. I just wish you lived closer, because then you could be part of Yu-Gi-Oh night more easily.
Yeah, right.
Maybe one day, Chris. Maybe one day. Or maybe Quest will eventually get the metaverse will get so good that you can just be here without actually being here.
Oh, yeah. I would like that.
Make it happen, Zuckerberg. What a bad name. You know?
It's not good.
It's just Zuckerberg. You have so many ways to go with it. It's just
too much sunblockerberg.
Man, you ever have people that you give nicknames that you know that they'll put up with, but they really dislike it?
No, not really.
Well, I guess that's the benefit of a relationship. Every now and then, just to annoy my wife, I'll call her Buckles because her last name used to be Buckley.
Oof.
And I think that she did not care for that last name, so she likes her new one better. But used to, whenever she just like start getting on my nerves a little bit about something, I'd be like, all right, settle down, Buckles. And I told her that her name, it sounded like the name of a horse. And I still think it does.
It does sound like the name of a horse, correct?
So, yeah. So, that's, we're having fun. We're having a good time. But if you ever see my wife on the street, first of all, how? You don't even know what my wife looks like. I guess you could find that out pretty easily. That's not pretty easily done. So never mind. I'm sorry for being.
If I'm ever in a position to call your wife Buckles, I'm pretty sure I'm not, because I don't want to get kicked out of the only place I'm staying.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I don't know, man. Wolfenstein, As Dusk Falls, and Horizon Forbidden West, like that. That's too many for me, and I think it's because one of them will inevitably take over, and that's always my problem. A game, and somebody actually kind of mirrors that with something they were talking about. I think it might have been over on Facebook. I'm trying to get to a point where I can more easily see all these things since my laptop's back up. But what is going on?
Wouldn't the hope kind of be that it does take over? right? Because that's when I download a bunch of games, like I'm hoping one of them will just be like the game I want to play. Like I hope when I play some Star Ocean that I'm like, oh, this is sick. I'm going to play the hell out of this. Probably won't happen, but
I mean, yes, that is what I want to happen. But the moment that happens, it'll become an issue. But here it is. My buddy Cody McGinnis, he says, I basically bounce around games until one of them really draws me in. That's not quite what I do, but it's closer. Because what happens is I can play a few games here and there. I can rotate through a couple. But it really is like a one and I'm done. And then I keep going through until I find one. And then one super draws me in and then I hyperfixate. So it's not like I have an issue where I hyperfixate on everything when I don't want to. It's more like I'll hyperfixate on something because it's good. I've never hyperfixated on something I've hated. That would worry me. If I was like, bro, I cannot stand Apex Legends, but I cannot quit playing it. That was my example for good reason, Chris.
You sound like an Apex Legends player.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But
no, really, there's never been a game I'm addicted to that I've hated, as this hasn't happened for me, thankfully. It's like when people do the, like, oh, I'm starting to hate this game, but I'm still going to go, I hate this game, but I'm going for platinum. Why do you want a platinum for a game you hate?
Because it's a platinum, dog.
You got to get them gains, them platinum gains.
How would I hit 100 if I didn't? You definitely played games you hated during the competition. But at the end, when you just fucked me for no reason.
That's going to be like the tale as old as time for this show, is that I came in and did a sneaky redo because you weren't paying attention to my trophies. That was the smartest thing I've ever done. You were solely relying on the fact that I would tell you that I got a platinum.
I was, because I always do.
More importantly, the only game I played that I didn't even have time to figure out if I hated it or not is that game that we talked about where you cross the street. I didn't realize how easy of a platinum was going to be. I can't even remember what it was called.
It's like it wasn't Tokyo Run. It was something along those lines. I still think you should play Tokyo Run so you can see how goddamn racist that game is. It's shocking that it's on the PS Store.
Well, but yeah, even during then, I only played games I liked. I liked that, dude. A lot of those Ratalaika games are fun.
Yeah, they're good.
I think that they're really well priced, well designed, get in and get out types of games that are fun, and you can have your time with them. Dude, Paradox Souls was fun. I really liked that game. That was a little Metroidvania one.
Yeah.
I thought that game was cool.
It was definitely all right.
But I'm not acting like it was game of the year or anything, but I enjoyed every game I platinum besides that one where you run across the street. But I can't even say that I enjoyed it or hated it because I literally played it for 5 minutes, got to bearings with the controls, and by the time I was like, oh, okay, I think I kind of know how to do this, I had the platinum, and I was like, well, I guess I don't really need to play this anymore. So, fair enough. I've gotten close to playing a game that I hate for a platinum, but it hasn't happened yet.
To be fair, I don't think I hate any of the games I have platinums in.
That's a good thing, ultimately. All right, we're going to get a few more here. Let me see. We have Matt Green. He says, depends on story whether I fixate or not. If it's an open world, I tend to burn out on side quests and get bored and then rush the main quest. That is exactly the issue I have with certain open worlds when they have the issue of being designed in such a way that their side quests are not as engaging as the main quests. So they feel like something that's giving you burnout. That happened with Horizon Forbidden West, bad for me. And then suddenly I was like, oh, I got to just mainline the story and get it over with because I just want to be done. And that's an unfortunate place to end up because that's where I feel like this modern thing of trying to accommodate the biggest audience, which I get, there's benefit there for people that like mindless side quests. By putting them into your game, you accommodate them, you cater to them, but you don't necessarily, you're not doing anything that's going to hurt the people who don't want that because they could choose to ignore it. But I'm basically of the mindset where why would you want to spend all that time and money and budget and artistry making side content that people don't really genuinely find great?
I don't know.
I'm also
I'll ask
not
Dan
in that
Hauser
business
when he comes on the show. Don't get mad at me.
Dude, if we could land Dan Houser, that'd be sweet, actually.
If we could land Dan Houser, if you think I'm doing anything other than sucking the man's dick, you're wrong.
Are you going to get consent first? Or are you talking about metaphorically?
I mean, listen, I consent, so all he's got to do is ask.
Okay, but I thought you were going to say like those states to have a filming thing where it's a both consent versus single consent, and I was like, that's not how it works, buddy. If states had single consent sexual things, that'd be a bad state. I would not think that's a good state to live in. That would be a bad state to live in. Do not live there. Anyway, moving along. I like that answer though. Burnout gets real rough. We have Constantly Kenny, one of our patrons. He says, and Matt Green's also one of our patrons. He says, I usually keep a few games going at once. I have a multiplayer to play with friends and a single player game to play when I'm not doing multiplayer. I also have a couple of mobile games that I can play for a few minutes while on the go. That is where I hope to end up. If I can have what my balance I'm trying to create is an at-home console game, an at-work, on break, on lunch handheld game, and a multiplayer game. I want to see if I can manage to work that out without getting hyperfixated on one too severely. So, Chris, we're going to have to find it. If that does mean that Apex Legends becomes that game for me, I guess I'll have to finally give in and download Apex.
Download it. Download it. Download
sadly, it's just one person. Too bad like the rest of the listenership can't just be there chatting alongside you.
Yeah. I'll invite them all in the next episode just so that we can all do that.
If you pull that off, I'll yeah, okay.
For the record, the game is called Road Bustle.
Road Bustle? That's a bad name.
It's a terrible name.
I mean, it's not very memorable. It perfectly describes the game. There's a road with a bustle on it.
It's a bustle of roads.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. I'm going to do one more. I think one more is a good way. And let's go to Mark Schutz, one of our patrons. He says, I tend to mainline one game to completion before I move on to something new. Only occasionally will I be working on more than one large game at once, and then usually one on each console rather than bounce from game to game. I guess he means bounce from game to game on a single console. I can kind of see how there can be a split between like, this is a game I'm playing on Xbox or PC, and this is a game I'm playing on PlayStation. I think that's more easily doable, but he's definitely in line with my thing. And I don't know if that comes down to responsibilities that I have or what, or I really, it's something I've always done though. You know, this is going to sound weird, but I think I may know why I got this way. Growing up, all the games I played growing up were hand-me-down games. I think the first brand new game I ever got was Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for Game Boy Advance because I begged for it for Christmas, and I got it brand new. And then I got Pokemon Sapphire brand new as well. And that was when I was young. Up until then, I didn't really buy games brand new day one until I had the PS3. My mom started, and even then it was very few and far between. But I think the issue is that I usually only had one game at a time. And so I became acquainted with gaming with only having one game to lose myself in. And I think that that's carried on to where even though I have the ability to play hundreds of games because of money and access and all these different things, my brain's still like, yeah, but I really like it when you just super play one game. That checks out, I feel like. But all right, I think, Chris, unless there's one that you want to grab, I think we are wrapping up on that particular section of the show. What do you think?
No, I'm okay. I feel like all the answers wonderful to have them. They all kind of were around the same spot, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think more people kind of exist in that middling area, which is good. Glad to hear it. I'd rather that than every single person be spastic or hyperfixating. But yeah. Hey, everybody, play games however you want, though. I'm not judging. Moving on from there. Yeah, Chris Jones. Wait a minute. Are you judging. Kratos?
Yes, boy.
Anyway. No, boy. Let's see. We've got the news. And the news this week seems pretty slim pickings. But that's okay. First piece of news up, Evo announcement teased last week came to light this week during the tournament. Multiversus announced its Season 1 Battle Pass is delayed into next month. It brings with it Rick and Morty and a LeBron James skin of him as Batman's Robin, as well as supposedly 50 tiers of items in the pass itself. Another big announcement was the teaser from Tekken director Katsuhiro Harada of something. Yeah, so probably the next Tekken. It would seem the announcement is for the next entry in the Tekken series, but the not officially, but probably canceled Tekken Cross Street Fighter could always be the next game coming from Bandai Namco. That would be interesting.
It would be
because that was all of the two. That was always the one I was more interested in. All I can tell you, I remember Street Fighter Cross Tekken had that hyper buff Cole. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Dude, he looked super swole. He looked ridiculous, in all honesty. I kind of want to find it real quick. Street Fighter Cross Tekken Cole. My man looked like he just swallowed roids for 3 weeks. So buff. Oh my God, look at this man. He looks terrible. Nothing about seeing him makes me think of Cole. It looks like a big muscly guy cosplaying Cole. But that's the world we live in. Speaking of cool characters, though, I like when they come in more untouched ways. Soul Calibur Broken Destiny had Kratos. That was a PSP fighting game. And I think it's coming to, it seems to be leaked that it's coming as a PSP classic for PS5. But that game has the PSP versions of Kratos from Chain of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta in, and you can play him, and he looks pretty much exactly like his PSP game counterpart. That's cool. I almost would have preferred them to just put Cole's character model into Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and that would have made it seem more unique than having this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure build Cole. But that's okay, you know. Nothing wrong with that. Next up, Modern Warfare 2 beta dates. PlayStation gets early access from September 16th through 17th, and then the open beta starts for them 18th through the 20th, the 22nd through the 23rd, and the 24th through the 26th. On Xbox and PC, the early access starts on the 22nd of September through the 23rd, and then the open beta gets one round from the 24th through the 26th at the same time as the last round on PlayStation. Of course, I'm sure that's due to contractual agreements with having marketing with PlayStation. But it's interesting as we continue to exist in this realm of seeing if Activision is going to be bought by Microsoft, which does seem to be happening. Any thoughts on that, Chris? I know you're a big Call of Duty man, so where are you at?
I'm excited. I'm definitely going to probably pre-order so I can get into the early beta, which that is the early access. If you pre-order, you get into it. And I think it looks really good. I'm looking forward to it, so I'm excited to get my hands on the game.
Now, if I remember right,
yeah,
with this game, not necessarily at launch, but with this game is supposed to be the follow-up to Warfare, right? Or Warzone, rather. But it's, if I remember, at least Jason Schreier's report was that it probably wasn't going to launch until the first half of 2023. But it's supposed to coincide with this game, kind of the way that Warzone coincided with the first Modern Warfare.
Yeah, supposedly. They haven't even talked about it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's funny. One of my coworkers who plays Warzone constantly was saying, yeah, I'm ready for the new Call of Duty. It's going to bring with the new Warzone. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not happening at launch. And he was like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
He still likes the normal Call of Duty multiplayer, but apparently there's something going on out and about there to where people are thinking it's coming with it. But you being the big Apex man, are you going to, I mean, did you ever get into Warzone?
No,
like,
Warzone's
seriously?
Not very good. I don't like Warzone.
Those are two very different statements.
Well, I mean, it's plagued with cheaters, so it's not very good.
Speaking of cheaters, how many of them have you ran into on Mercenary?
Not enough to have a conversation about them, personally. You've played significant. You've actually played significantly more of the multiplayer than me, so.
That's fair. I'm getting murdered right now as I look over and see my screen. Murder. All right, next thing up. This one's unfortunate. Marvel's Midnight Suns has moved its date from October until somewhere later in the financial quarter, which ends in March. 2K says the delay is to ensure the best possible experience for fans, notably while the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X versions list a tentative date. The PS4 and Xbox One versions only list TBA now. I would be incredibly surprised to see the last-gen versions get canceled.
I wouldn't.
We've seen crazier things, though. Just because dev time has been spent on it doesn't mean anything. They canceled the Batgirl film when it was basically completed. Not completed, but very close. So all things are possible now through Christ.
Dude, everything I read about that movie sounds so bad that I'm like, I'm glad you guys got rid of that.
I like Brendan Fraser a lot, though. And I wanted to see him
in the Batgirl movie?
Yeah, he was going to be the villain.
Oh, now I'm sad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then I wasn't as worried personally about Michael Keaton coming back because first of all, that's happening in the Flash movie that we know is still happening, at least currently.
Man's 1,000 years old. I don't know. Ezra Miller might beat the shit out of that movie and it'll never and just break it.
I still feel like they should have saved Michael Keaton's Batman strictly for Batman Beyond. That's how you make it make sense. Then you're not having to pull weird crap to make it happen. You just get to go, oh, this is happening in his world. In that original Batman's world, here's the new Batman Beyond, and he's the Bruce to the Terry. That's how you pull that off. But it's like, no, we have to use multiverses and time travel. Stop, guys. You can do these things within the worlds that they originated in if you're not an idiot.
Well, it's also like I think I said it to you. I'm like, why isn't Robert Pattinson playing Terry McGinnis, and at the beginning is him and Batfleck just like training? Like that would have been so sick.
Dude, realistically, with how dark that version of Batman chose to go, and the fact that they chose to lean heavily in on the red and black color scheme, it should have been Batman Beyond.
It should have. I feel like the Bruce Wayne name is just too important, which I don't understand.
I don't either, but definitely, I guess here's the problem, right? The crux of the Batman Beyond story, which I will not say just on the off chance that something ever comes, and I don't want to ruin that surprise for anybody who doesn't know, because sadly Batman Beyond is still a niche enough show that people don't know the story. I'm going to operate under the assumption that you do know what happens in that story.
I do, yeah.
That would be such a crazy cool reveal, and I think that the reveal could have really worked within the confines of how they were setting up the mystery here.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they still do.
Could have been great. Dude.
Who knows? Because, you know, Mr. Affleck is back for Aquaman.
50 years. Yeah. What's up with this? I'm done playing Batman. Never mind. Haha.
Maybe he just really didn't like, Joss Whedon, which makes sense because nobody likes Joss Whedon.
Not anymore.
And then, and maybe he didn't like Jeff Johns. I don't know. The new guy that's coming in is a big Snyder fan. So maybe he's getting pulled back in. That's like, hey guys, listen, dude, if they brought back, I know that there's people that disagree with this. I like Snyder's movies. If they brought Snyder back in and got the Snyderverse going, not that he wants to do it, not that it even needs to happen. I'm just saying,
I'd be down to see that first movie.
I wouldn't, because the leaked story sounds worse than anything anyone else could have done. I'm glad it's not being made. Sounds.
You talking about the original follow up for?
Yeah, like his pitch
Justice
for how
League?
the universe goes with Bruce Wayne or Superman's kid being Bruce's kid. Fuck that. I don't want to see that shit ever.
Oh man, nah. I think
delete the Snyder
really
cut.
Interesting.
That's an awful. Are you joking? That's fucking terrible.
I like that idea.
That is character assassination beyond the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, fuck off with that shit. They're best friends. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but this is also a universe where we're looking at Superman losing his damn mind. That was the point of that.
But that's not even when it happens. He loses his mind because of it, which is worse.
I don't know, man.
God, I hate you. I'm glad that doesn't happen.
I'm going to hope it happens even harder now.
Well, thank God everyone seems to hate Zack Snyder now, so it's not happening.
Hey, that's
just give it all to Matt Reeves. Give Christopher Nolan $100 million. Let him and Matt Reeves produce the whole universe. Make him Kevin Feige. Hire Kevin Feige. He's losing his touch. We'll move on to someone else. We'll get
I was about to say, if whatever, what is it? The fourth, what is this? Wave
phase
4? phase 4, 5. Whatever. We're in phase 5 right now?
We're about to be.
Okay, but phase 4 is what we've been dealing with, right?
Yes.
Yeah, looking at phase 4, there's no way in hell I would hire Kevin Feige, whatever his name is.
Personally. I mean, I think phase 4 is fine.
It's decidedly okay. That's all right. That's a conversation for a different day, Chris.
If phase 4 happened instead of phase 1, nobody would be talking about it like it's bad. Everyone expects a huge thing to be at the center, and it's not there yet. Doesn't mean the movies aren't bad. I thought Shang-Chi sucked, but calm down.
Oh, there's bad movies in phase 1 of Marvel as well. I mean,
I know. Thor 2 is in phase 1 or phase 2. It's one of them. Yeah, Thor 2 is one of the worst movies of all time. It's an abomination, Blake.
Yeah, Thor 1's not great either. It's not Thor 2, so you got that going for it.
Great scene.
Yeah, it's got one good scene.
It does. Great. It has a lot of Dutch angles, which is just embarrassing for something not made by an 8-year-old. Dutch angles are only cool as a child. Why would I want them in a big budget movie? Oh, look at that. I angled my camera. Isn't the rural desert of New Mexico really cool now? Fuck you.
I love it. Chris, I just want you to do I want you to shit all over the Marvel movies that you think are bad, and just we can film that and have that.
I wonder if there's a platform we could do that on.
Midweek matinee, maybe?
Yeah.
And then we can get canceled, and then that can be the excuse as to why midweek matinee doesn't happen anymore, not because we're both incredibly busy. Playing Killzone. That's the reason that midweek matinee is not happening. Is we're trying to get damn trophies, guys. Get off of our backs. Yeah. Midnight Suns, I think you said, which I agree with this, I think it was coming out at a point in time where when they originally announced it, the end of the year seemed kind of barren. Call of Duty's coming because it always is, but we didn't know about God of War. There were a lot of big games. We didn't know about The Last of Us at that point in time. I think there's enough big swingers from more prominent genres and more accessible commercial genres than what Marvel's Midnight Suns is, that moving it away from there means that if you move it to a time period where there's less stiff competition, you can put it in a time period where people who are not familiar with the genre will still be willing to maybe pick it up on a whim and then may end up loving it, which can get you better out of the gate sales. I think putting it between all of those very, highly anticipated, at least highly talked about games, because The Last of Us remake seems to be hit or miss on people online, that online voice we always talk about. People act like they hate it, but I think everyone would be fooling themselves if they don't think that The Last of Us remake sells bukus. That's really where we are. Chris, you're muted.
It's a nice another 5 million seller for them.
It's going to be interesting if it sells even more. I'm going to hold off because I think that the game's going to see a huge spike in sales when the HBO series comes.
True.
But even day one, the game's going to do well.
You think that game's going to end and we get a teaser for the HBO show? Like how they did Sly 4 or whatever?
Why not?
I would. I'm still surprised they didn't make Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey the main. They didn't change the models. I'm blown away they didn't change the models.
I knew they wouldn't. When we had that conversation forever back, I said there's no way in hell they'll do it. Now, I guarantee you when the show launches, they're going to do a free update where you can choose to play as skins for Joel and Ellie, but the default is still always going to be original Joel and Ellie.
If they want to make that work, they bring in Pedro and Bella to do the whole thing again, revoice it. They won't.
That would be crazy.
But that would be cool.
That would be interesting, yeah.
They could even charge for that shit. Knowing Sony, it's a $70 DLC upgrade.
Dude, if it's $70, no way. If that's like a $10 DLC, Sure.
There's no way a $10 DLC is worth it for them to do it. $20, it comes with Left Behind skins.
It comes with Left Behind also redone.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal is the black girl. I can't remember her name.
Riley?
Yeah, Riley.
That would be great.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, man.
That I would play.
That is ripe for a lot of things. All right. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's just being moved because it makes the most sense. They won't come out and say that because I don't think anybody ever wants to say, hey, we're moving our game because we don't think it'll perform as well as we hope it would with these games, because that makes your game, it makes people look at your game and go, ooh, maybe it's not going to be very good if they don't have high hopes for it. But it's just the realistic nature of the market. Now, we could be wrong. It may not actually be that. Could be that the game needs more time. But they showed enough of it and came out of the gate with that date. I think that they were able to hit that date, and it just became increasingly a better idea for them to move that date. I don't know, Chris, you clearly originally had that thought. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I posted the news, I think we got a lot of, it was someone who was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if it got canceled. So I'm like, it's definitely not getting canceled. It's just not releasing at a good time. Because it's a niche title that's already not going to sell well. And then you're going to put it next to God of War, Call of Duty, Last of Us. You know, I guess you could include Saints Row there if you really want to. Like, it's not worth putting out in that time frame. If they could, they should have hit their original release date. You know, maybe they could have worked a couple extra hours. Just saying.
Dan Houser in the back of the room. Come on, guys.
He's got a gun to my head. He's like, yes, crunch is good, Chris. Crunch is good.
Right off of that. That's why you keep talking about him this episode. He's right off to the side. He's like, you will remind people that Dan Houser was good. But actually, you kind of were saying that you're going to shit all over him, so never mind.
Do you want to go bowling, cousin? Yes, I do, Mr. Hauser.
No. All right, next thing up on the list. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics have apparently never heard of the Streisand effect when they DMCA'd Last Stand Media over their leaks of the new Tomb Raider game, currently titled Project Jawbreaker. We should be careful or we'll get DMCA'd as well.
As long as we don't reenact the script, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, we did reenact the script, though, once. It's good times.
Yeah, that was
good
fun.
Times. Moriarty and company revealed a ton about the game, including that Laura will apparently be a lesbian. Project Zero. 0 hour, isn't that what it was?
Yeah, Project 0 hour.
All right. Laura will apparently be a lesbian. This must be not Camille Vamp, whatever her name is.
Brett, for the love of God, finish the news. How have you not learned this yet?
I don't know, man. It's my brain. I used to do the news. I think that's what it is. I knew what I was doing. So, and notably, the game will seemingly be moving away from the Camilla Luddington-led trilogy as they're hiring a new actress who they want to be committed to seeing the story through. The synopsis for the game is as follows. Lara Croft is now at the top of her game. Gone are the days of the young, inexperienced woman dealing with matters of legacy and familial reckoning. Laura has fully let go of her childhood and embraced a life of adventure and purpose. Laura has become lonely at the top. The beginning of this next chapter presents Laura with a quintessential adult problem. This sounds so fucking stupid.
It sounds awful, yeah.
I don't even know how to describe that, but I am not envious of the person who has to come up with the way to pitch this shit to somebody because it's hard to do. But the beginning of this next chapter presents Laura with a quintessential adult problem, facing something too big to handle alone. This sounds like a porno script read. What is going on?
Is that why she's a lesbian in the game?
On this new adventure, she ran into RJ Berger. It was too much for her to handle. Yeah. On this new adventure, Laura will encounter a challenge she can only overcome with a team at her side. This sounds even more like a porn script. I don't know what is happening here. Listen, I think that everybody was talking about how they loved the old Laura and how she was just like a badass bitch who went out and was like, yeah, I'm looking through this fucking tomb. What's up? Yeah, there's dinosaurs in here. I'm going to fucking shoot these dinosaurs, bro. Which I will tell you, as a kid, I thought Lara Croft was bad fucking ass. Because I was like, this bitch is just shooting a T-Rex. Zero fuck. I did a backflip and shot the T-Rex. That's fucking sick.
I've been debating playing those games because I have the Tomb Raider Anniversary Collection on PS3, which supposedly is not very good, but I have it. And I thought about playing them all. Giving them a shot,
dude. The remake of the first game, or whatever they did, Tomb Raider, I think it was called Tomb Raider Anniversary, actually, was great. I played it on PSP many moons ago, so maybe it was tainted by that, but it was fun. I like
Tomb Raider Anniversary, Tomb Raider Legend, and Tomb Raider Underworld.
Yeah, I didn't play Legend or Underworld, so that might be why it's not considered good. But I liked Tomb Raider Anniversary because it was essentially a remake. Pretty fun game. But yeah, I mean, I really liked the first Tomb Raider for the 2013 reboot that they did. The second one was okay, and then the third one kind of got, I don't know, man. I got tired of Lara after that, but I think that partially came from the fact, do you remember when the news media, the game media, and therefore the internet bubble that focuses on that too hard was getting all up in the game's ass over the fact that they had a part of the game where Lara had to suffer some like sexual assault stuff.
Mm-hmm. I do.
I think that any of the more adult leanings that they were going for, where they were tackling more interesting things, they got scared away from. And I think that's why you end up with the two follow-up games that kind of seem to lose their way. And they seem to lose what Lara was even about in the first game because they got all that flack. I still enjoyed the games, but I think that they're so forgettable. Ironically, I remember more about the story of Tomb Raider 2013 than the other two, and I've not played Tomb Raider 13 since the game hit PS Plus in 2013.
I'm going to be real with you. I think those games are carried off the beginning 20 minutes of Tomb Raider 1, and they have not been good since that 20 minutes.
Really? I thought that the majority of the first reboot was pretty good and fun puzzles. Like, it wasn't perfect, but I thought definitely at the time when a lot of people were looking at it and saying like, well, this is just Uncharted, I thought it actually proved that while it definitely leaned into a lot about Uncharted, it justified how different it was by being like, we're going to be hub areas and we're going to look at those hub areas with having gun play and stuff that's built around you having to go and craft and find. I felt like it was able to differentiate its way that way. It was just more story focused in a way that was cinematic, in a way that was Uncharted like at the time. It's easy to see the comparisons. But yeah, I do think, I mean, they're fun to play and I beat all three of them. I just, it went from, I remember that I was like, oh damn, it sucks that I'm not going to be able to play Rise of the Tomb Raider on PS4. So I bought it on PC and then I played it and I was like, it was okay. Like that was cool, but I don't know. I could have waited and played it on PS4 next year.
Yeah. And then forgot it was coming, so then never played it at all.
That actually could have happened. I didn't play Shadow of the Tomb Raider until significantly later when it was free. Yeah. Or on sale heavily. One of the two. I think it was free. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, are you a big Tomb Raider guy at all? At any point in your life?
Not really. I think it's cool, but Angelina Jolie is the only Tomb Raider I care about, so that should tell you how much I care about the franchise.
Yeah, fair enough. I liked it as a kid. I think it's because my dad had those games. So when we inevitably got handed down the PS1 when he got the PS2, I was able to play those games a lot. Again, that poor childhood mentality, because it's like my dad had the thing that had Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 in one case. It was like a collection for all three of them. And so I got to play all three of those. And I thought they were a good time. But I will say I used to be wowed by games more when I didn't have as much options, because I guess it was like, oh, wow, I've never experienced anything like this because I didn't have context for what else was out there until I was a little bit older.
True.
So I don't know if I would have ever gotten into Tomb Raider as much as I did had it not been for that. But I think Lara was clearly very large coming into the early 2000s and out of the late 90s.
Very large. Talking about titties. My man.
So, dude, I'm sorry, but the sentence Lara, the next chapter presents Lara with a quintessential adult problem. Why would you put adult in that sentence? Because that makes it sound worse anyway. And then to follow that up with facing something too big to handle alone, it sounds like you're begging me to write a porn script from this.
What if it is a porn script?
Dude, if it's an AO Tomb Raider game, you will have fully subverted my expectation. You will have Ryan Johnston this entire thing.
The last Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I know that there's porns with this name, but yeah.
Womb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Or Womb Raider.
Raid her tomb.
Ooh. Okay. Lara Croft and the D-Rex.
Tomb is a bad one. That makes me think of Grandma's Boy whenever Nick Swartzen ends up getting with the grandma and he's talking about, he's like, there was cobwebs in her. It smelled like the Great Depression. Funny movie, though.
Incredible movie. We talk about it on Midweek Matinee.
Yeah, many moons ago. When Chris and I were more aspiring people, apparently. But Chris,
I'm willing to do it again. Let's go.
I don't know. I'm willing, but I don't know when the timing would work out. So we'll see what happens.
Stop playing Killzone.
Look, here's it is, guys. Look, you can go to patreon.com/Nartech and just give me money. And whenever I don't have to work a job that I sometimes wish I didn't have to work, then I can just do Midweek Matinee. There you go. If you want it, you got to build it.
I feel like you got to build it by doing the show.
I was literally just about to say, I'm pretty sure I just gave the explanation of what I needed to do, but
you're right.
No, hey, thanks to you guys who do that, though. Thanks to you who go to patreon.com/Nartech and give a little $1 per month to support the show. The last thing we have on the news is still Square Enix related and Crystal Dynamics related. Square Enix has come out to say that their reason for selling off Crystal Dynamics and the studios that go with most of their Western development that they had going on was that, and I want to find the quote exactly because it's a very interesting quote. This is over on Polygon. That's where Chris pulled this from. But basically the idea was, in so many terms, that they felt like Crystal Dynamics and their games were cannibalizing other sales. Now, I'm not really even sure how to bring this together, because what was it cannibalizing? Sales of their Japanese games? Sales of their other Western developed games like Deus Ex? Is it saying, it says cannibalized other sales. Now, cannibalized typically means that it ate. So like a good example for anybody who's thinking about like how to look at this, a lot of people use the idea or the terminology of cannibalism for the way that EA chose to put out Titanfall 2 right alongside Battlefield 1. And the fact that it was one company putting out two games that were very similar and one was far more established than the other. And so therefore Titanfall 2 underperformed when you put a comparison to a game that came out and kind of mopped the floor with it in many ways. So when I'm looking at it from that way, I don't see how cannibalizing sales comes in. I can't imagine the Tomb Raider games were doing that. Now, what I can imagine is that you can look at Crystal Dynamics and say, well, they made the Marvel game that we know underperformed and that they cannibalized their other studios. I wouldn't say cannibalized, but basically they pulled in money for a game that underperformed that other studios could have used to make games that could have performed better. There's an argument to be made there. But I think this is such a weird way to go about this. So it says the publisher's reasoning, according to analyst David Gibson, is that its Western studios and their products might have been cannibalizing sales from the rest of the group, so selling them off could improve capital efficiency. Basically making more money relative to what the company spends to make more money, which sounds similar to what I'm talking about. But odd choice of words. Now, I think these choice of words might have actually come from David Gibson, who's just an analyst. So maybe that's a better way to do it, because the headline makes it sound like Square Enix used those words in specific. And from what I'm reading here, Square Enix did not use those words in specific. Rather, an analyst is looking at what they're saying and saying that they would categorize it and say it as cannibalizing sales. So choice of words from someone else is what it looks like. Chris.
Hi.
What are your thoughts here?
I don't know. I feel like if the reason they did it was because it was cannibalizing, I feel like that's ridiculous. I don't know that Avengers was cannibalizing biggest game of a very long time, Final Fantasy 14, personally. Seems like kind of a cop-out.
Yeah,
seems like a really interesting way to say Sony didn't want these studios.
Well, if you remember, they were talking about that they were selling it and looking at doing things to double down into their Japanese development. That was another thing that came out, that they were talking about doubling down on Japanese development. And then there was something else that came out in the news this week, and I don't think it was here, though it could be, is that Square Enix is interested in letting people have stakes in their developers. And I don't even know. So this is GameSpot. And the headline reads, Square Enix could be selling stakes in even more studios. So says Square Enix is looking to devote more resources to its Japan titles and projects. Now, let me see what Dave Gibson is. Is he related to Square Enix in some way? And then that makes this make more sense. No, he's just a senior analyst at MST Financial. All right. Okay. This is also from him. The publisher will be reviewing its portfolio to see which studios it will want to retain full ownership of or offer stakes to the other interested companies. As Gibson explained, Square Enix views the strategy as a way to devote resources to mainly Japan titles, and could see interest from Sony, Tencent, and Nexon, which are three big, more Eastern-based gaming juggernauts. So I don't know. I mean, clearly, as we know, a lot of success came from their Japanese games last generation, interestingly enough, because they were some of the ones wrought with the most interesting, like, elongated development times. But then Kingdom Hearts 3 takes 5 years to get done, and they announced it too early, but then it comes out and sells more than any Kingdom Hearts game before it, by far. And then Final Fantasy 15 takes technically over a decade to make if you include it with 13 verses, and then they shit the game out in a year and a half, and it goes on to sell more than most Final Fantasy games have sold. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, also a massive seller. Final Fantasy 14 Online, massive seller. So I could understand that, and I could even see how, if you're talking back to what you're talking about, Chris, where if you're wanting to make yourself look good to a potential buyer, the way to do that is to only keep the parts of your business that you can specifically show growth with, so that you don't have to be like, oh, well, hey, the team that made Marvel's Avengers and lost us money, as far as we're saying, is part of us. You can go, hey, we've trimmed the fat. All we have is the lean meat that you want and that we have proof performs. Bam.
No gristle on this steak, baby.
At the same time, this move sounds like, to me, a version of Square wanting to, if they're looking at selling stakes in certain studios to Sony, Tencent, or Nexon, and they're looking at them as potential people to come in, that sounds like the main move is to let Square still remain independent and only sell the parts of itself that it still doesn't consider profitable enough, and then maybe just have partnerships with Sony the way that they do currently for console exclusivity or time exclusivity to make up extra money that way. What do you think? I mean, do you still think that this is ultimately just a way to disguise Square Enix trying to make themselves look better for purchase for somebody, be it Sony or Tencent? Or do you really think that they would want to stay independent?
I don't think... What are they going to do if they stay independent, right? Like, that seems kind of crazy, because I could only see them being interested in, like, whatever they call the Final Fantasy 16 studio. What's it called?
The 16 studio? Luminous?
Yeah,
Luminous
no, it's not Luminous.
Forspoken.
It's like,
isn't it Creative Business Division 3?
That's exactly what it is. So like, why would Square Enix sell that without selling the company? And why would Sony buy Luminous when instead of buying Creative Business Suite D7 or whatever it's called? Like, why would you do that? So I don't see any reason for them to stay independent unless Square Enix is like, you can have everything except Final Fantasy 14. And at that point, why would Sony be like, yes? Be like, no, they probably want to buy them for Final Fantasy 14. And they can do the whole, hey, we've got Bungie over here helping us out. And we've got the team behind Final Fantasy 14 teaching us how to make an MMO. And now your Killzone MMO is coming out and it's going to be the greatest thing of all time. Like, why would you split that up or any of that? Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I get what you're saying, that their biggest games tends to come from their primary things, which is Creative Business Unit 1, Creative Business Unit 2, 3, and 4. Those are their 4 primary ones, and they each have different things connected to them, and they kind of rotate through certain times. But then you come down and look at some of their other owned studios. I mean, you do have things like Tokyo RPG Factory, which made things like I Am Setsuna. So they have... This is going to sound weird, but listen to what I'm saying, and then I think... I'm still curious to see what you say, but I think it may be a little less of a to you, because we've been talking about Sony getting to a point where they're buying up studios that have made well-known games so that they can throw money at them to make games that act as easy day one PS Plus titles like Stray and whatnot, which is technically a partnership. But I think that you could look and say, like, why would Sony want something that's not Creative Business, units 1 through 4? I could see Sony being like, hey, Tokyo RPG Factory made some good games that were pretty critically acclaimed. They could be a great low budget day one thing to make games that get a lot of commercial, or rather a lot of online praise and whatnot, that can be made fairly cheaply. And then you have, like, I don't exactly know who is developing, and I should actually probably look into that, but I don't know which one of them are developing some of these, like, projects, Triangle Strategy. Mm-hmm. Who's the developer on that one? Is that one of the main business? Because if not, games like that and the Diode Chronicles or whatever is coming out, I could see Sony looking at that and being like, again, good Japanese games that are a little more niche that we can give little budgets to, and bam, here you are. It just says developers Art, Dink, and Square Enix. That doesn't help anything.
My response to that is Tokyo RPG Factory has not made critically acclaimed games. So
I won't say critically acclaimed, but they're like, I know, I remember. I said that they would look for people. I know that I Am Setsuna was a loved game. Now, I don't know much about it. I didn't end up playing it.
I Am Setsuna has a 70, and their other 2 games on Metacritic are in the 60s. Like, you're not... At that point, make your own studio.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, if they didn't sell well, but they were in the 90s, you could see that argument.
Right.
Yeah,
and they could all be good. Clearly, critically, they're not, but like that doesn't mean they're not good. But
yeah, I'm looking at their list of what they have. So they have Balan Company, which is the one who made Balan Wonderland, who I doubt that's going to work out.
Stick around.
Square Enix Image Studio Division. Now, these are actually just subsidiaries. It may not always be developers, but they do have Luminous, which could be something that they might want to look at selling, because prior we thought that Luminous was done. Apparently it's not because of Forspoken, which the big question there is, Forspoken only happening because Sony went to Square and wanted a game? Or was Forspoken always going to happen and Sony got in early and said, hey, we like to look at that. We're looking for games to partner with PS5. That's a question that we'll probably never know the answer to, but it could shed a lot of light on how much Square wanted to put into Luminous versus how much Luminous only survived because of interest from an outside company.
I think your point would make a lot more sense if Sony had bought Crystal Dynamics. They didn't.
What do you mean? Out of curiosity, what,
like making games to put on PS Plus?
Oh, day one? Yeah.
Yeah, like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and those IP make 100 times more sense than Tokyo RPG Factory or Luminous Productions, who I don't think Luminous Productions, have they done anything of note? Final Fantasy,
don't think so. 15?
They made Final Fantasy 15 and Forspoken, so they've never made a good game.
But I thought that they made 15.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, never made a good game.
15 is not that bad. It's not also amazing, but it's not bad.
But you're not spending the money on it.
Yeah, I do agree with that. If that's the only, now, unless Forspoken comes out and actually kicks ass, which track record would make you think probably not. I have high hopes for it, but they're not delusions of grandeur. I just don't want to see a game that's been marketed and given this much attention and being a new IP for Square for the first time in a long time at the AAA level. I want to see them actually succeed, because you do get to that point where you see a developer and like you kind of, me, right? I get tired of being like, oh, it's Activision. I know it's just going to be Call of Duty, because Activision has reached that point where they've stopped caring about doing any kind of new and moving IP, because they've found IP that's largely successful, and that's what they're going to do. And Square kind of does that because Final Fantasy has been hugely successful. Why spend a lot of time making anything else if you can just make that? But at the same time, I want to see people express out from, go out from there. So other ones they have are Hippo's Lab. I don't know who that is, but it looks like it's a lot of smaller studios. So that almost seems like that would be something that Nexon, being a little bit more mobile focused, would want to hop in on, because I'm guaranteeing that a lot of these are very, they're probably a lot of the people that make Square's phone mobile division gaming. And I don't know how much money Square pulls in from mobile versus what they spend on it. Sorry about my dogs, for anybody who has them.
Honestly, the more I look at this, the more I look at this, like if Square wants to stay independent, you don't buy them, because none of the stuff they have seems worth it to anybody except them, for whatever reason they're doing it. Like, I just don't, like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, Tokyo RPG Factory, I like the concept, and maybe you could look at me and say, I think Sony buying this for like $50 million off Square Enix and investing in it is a good idea. And I would say yes. And then I would look at you and go, but they just closed Japan Studio, so what's the
Probably
plan?
Not.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but again, why wouldn't you take that $50 million and make a studio at that point? You're not buying a studio with pedigree. Like, you could sit here and tell me that I Am Setsuna was your game of the year that year. I loved it, and I would look at you and tell you that they sold soft and they weren't reviewed well, so it goes in the same camp as Alpha Protocol for me. You know, like, it's a mediocre game. You don't need to buy that off Square Enix. Just make a studio for that. Like, it doesn't, you know. I understand the idea, but I just don't see the execution in buying these as worth it. I don't see why you do it. I could see that.
Yeah, anything but the main meat of them.
Right. The only reason I see for anyone to buy Square Enix is to take that money from Final Fantasy 14 and to have the IP of Final Fantasy. And that's it. Like, you could, the more interesting thing was if we could find a list of all the IP they own. And
they own a lot.
Oh, yeah. Of course. And all of the, their game engines may be a big thing. But right now, unless you're getting Business Studio 78, I don't see why you buy Square Enix. But to be fair, on this podcast, I've been saying forever, there's absolutely no reason to buy Square Enix unless you're terrified that Tencent's going to buy them and you're like, we need Final Fantasy. Then fine. And I think, honestly, Sony's best move, even though they've moved away from Japan, is to look at Microsoft and go, they're the home of WRPG. As much as I hate to say it, coming from Sony's side anyway, I don't particularly care. They're the home of the WRPG. We need to go back to our roots and become the home of the JRPG. So guess what? We're buying Atlas. We're buying Square Enix. We might buy Sega. That's the kind of stuff they need to do if they want to compete with Microsoft. And if you're not trying to compete with Microsoft, then don't buy Square Enix. Just keep buying their exclusives. I don't
So
see it.
for me, I think the way that I would look at this is that Square Enix is a decision that makes a lot more sense if you look at buying Square Enix as part of making sure that they continue to have a foothold in Japan. Now, right now, they're doing that by just partnering with Square Enix and getting the games there. But when you close Studio Japan, which, to be fair to Sony, it hurt. And when you think about the games that you love from them, no Studio Japan game has ever been a massive seller. It just hasn't. They were always really cool games that brought with it most of the time a lot of cult-like following love. Like, there's a lot of people love Gravity Rush. It didn't sell very well, but a lot of people love that series. Ape Escape, similar things. So all their series that lost with that and that pedigree that you think comes from that are sad that they're gone, right? But at the same time, if you're going to do that because of the business aspects of it not being manageable for long, and you can only hold on to pedigree and good faith and stuff like that for so long before it starts feeling like you're bleeding money where you could be doing something better. Square Enix makes money on their Japanese titles. Their Japanese titles are huge and renowned throughout Japan. They get the kind of love and coverage that that Sony Japan studio was getting, but at a much more profitable level. So buying Square Enix to essentially become the new Sony Japan studio makes sense to me. And it also makes sure that they have a for sure, we can't lose it staple in Japan, so they can hold on to what they do in the Japan market. Because if they keep going, they can lose the Japan market entirely due to Nintendo. And then they can also let Microsoft get a foothold there that they've never really had. Like, they're doing better this gen than ever before. So if we're looking at the reasons as to why they may do it, I could see that. I think outside of that, if I look at buying them, I think that, I look at franchises like Final Fantasy and like Kingdom Hearts. And I know that you're not a big fan of specifically Kingdom Hearts, and you've not played a lot of Final Fantasy that I'm aware of.
No,
but those are huge franchises. They're really big franchises that people love.
I was going to actually say the same kind of thing, where I was just looking at it. I'm like, I love Persona. So if, I hope that they keep Persona on the console, whether it's exclusive or not, I don't care. But even just looking at this, you get Dragon Quest, Star Ocean, and Final Fantasy in your portfolio to rival Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Redfall. It's totally fine.
God.
Redfall looks like shit. I'm sorry. But you are the home of JRPGs de facto. 11,
yeah, and they've already, right, they have that, but buying Square ensures that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to mirror Microsoft, but in the eastern side of the world, you go, hey, screw it. We're buying Square. We have these 4. We're putting the money into it. Dragon Quest 12 is Nintendo, PC, and PlayStation, and then at that point, maybe this is crazy, but there's almost an argument that it wouldn't even be worth it to Microsoft to go after Persona because they just lost the Japanese market no matter what they do. Right?
Yeah, because the only thing they could do is go after the market in America that likes Japanese titles. But yeah, different move. That's a very different move.
Buying Persona when Sony has exclusivity on Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, and Star Ocean is like that scene in Monty Python where the guy gets all his limbs cut off and he's like, it's just a flesh wound. That's all. That's what it is. To be like, oh, at least I have the head. It's like, yeah, but you don't have JRPGs. No one cares.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Not even devil's advocate. I'm going to actually talk about something that I like, and this is kind of I like the ideology around it. It doesn't always mean that it makes perfect business sense, but if any business can do it, it'd be Microsoft because of the amount of money that they have to work with. I am a big proponent of, if there's a hill that you can reasonably try to make a stand on, you should try and make a stand on that. So while it may not, you're right, they would be strong-arming Microsoft heavily. But I still think in that situation, Microsoft would and should still try to go out of their way to get some kind of presence in Japan, be it by getting known franchises or doing what they try to do with Scalebound and get with a studio that people know and love and get them to make exclusive content for them, because why not? It's just, I mean, if it exists there and there's a chance that you can do something in there, as much as people act like there's not, it's like, that's why I think Sony should have continued in the handheld market. Just because Sony made bad decisions with their own handheld doesn't mean that they don't have potential in that market. It just means that they need to think about what they're doing before they go into that market again. But that market's still there and ripe to be made, just like for Japan. So,
well, let me be
clear.
clear.
Clearly,
I'm not saying Microsoft should not do it, right? I hope they should. I hope they invest in it. I hope we get cool stuff like Blue Dragon from Microsoft. My point is more like, you're trying to break in to Japan, and Sony just bought the 3 biggest Japanese. I'm including Star Ocean because I know it's a JRPG. I don't know how big Star Ocean is, so we'll just reduce it down to Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, which I'm not a huge JRPG guy. Pretty sure those are the biggest. So what do you it's kind of like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, if I was trying to lose weight, and it's Big Smoke from GTA, right? It's him doing that gigantic drive-through order and being like, let me get a Diet Coke. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's that same kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine that, like, inverse, right? I expect Sony to still try and go after big WRPGs, regardless of the fact that Microsoft is doing everything in their power, whether on purpose or just by means of, oops, we got all these people. But Microsoft has ended up, whether on purpose or not, as the home of WRPGs.
Mm-hmm. And FPS.
That's
realistically. I think my thing is more just like, I think maybe I'm being hypocritical. Totally fine. You can tell me if I am. But I don't know that Fallout and Elder Scrolls, while huge, are the same in their respective genre as Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest are. I could be wrong in my assumption, but I can tell you that I just played a real bad WRPG. And
Elix?
Because,
Elix?
Fucking terrible. Don't play that game. The fact that more people are making WRPGs than they are making traditional JRPGs. How many? I could probably look at my shelf right now and have like 50 WRPGs that aren't from them. Alpha Protocol, which I guess Obsidian, so take it as you will.
Yeah.
But, stuff like that, I can look at this and be like, there are more WRPGs on my shelf. Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age, whatever the hell they're calling this one.
Yeah. Well, besides the fact that you have to deal with the fact that Pokemon is owned by Nintendo, and there's not much you can do about the fact that Pokemon is considered a JRPG all day long. Just for anyone who is curious, Pokemon sits at 380 million units sold. Final Fantasy is the second most highest at 164 million units sold, and Dragon Quest is directly under it with 83 million units sold. And then the next one up is Monster Hunter at 78 million, and then a huge drop down to Kingdom Hearts is the next at 35 million. Mm-hmm. So it goes to say that would definitely, buying Square Enix would put you to where you have 3 of the top 5 selling JRPGs of all time.
Right.
And I don't know that you're going to be able to get Capcom, but Monster Hunter would be a huge get for Sony if you want to be the home of the JRPG, realistically. Now, I want to make it clear that I don't personally necessarily want game studios and companies to merge and consolidate that much, because I think it's ultimately a bad idea for competition for a lot of reasons. I don't necessarily want Sony coming in and saying, hey, you can't make these games the same way anymore because we're trying to puritanicalize everything. That's,
well, you say that like they're making these games for Xbox anyway. That's one of the things. I know this will never happen because Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer are not as creative as they think they are. But if Jim Ryan wanted to play chess right now, he would buy Square Enix, be like, we'll give you Final Fantasy VII Remastered. We want Elder Scrolls 6. Why are you not doing that? Why?
Yeah.
We'll give them all to you. We want Bethesda. We want the specific Bethesda games. I don't give a fuck about Wolfenstein. I like Wolfenstein. Couldn't give a shit. don't care about Indiana Jones, but hey, we'll give you, we'll let you. We'll
Also,
let you
probably going to be a multi-platform game, but you know.
Yeah, but we're operating on the fact that Phil Spencer doesn't just buy things willy-nilly. Oh no, Activision Blizzard.
That's hopping on opportunity, buddy.
I agree. A little Willard Nillard, if I'd say so myself. But I think it just doesn't make sense to me why they're not being more chestnut checkers about this stuff. Because they keep telling us, Phil Spencer keeps saying, you know, Sony's not our competition. All right, then, bitch, where's my Elder Scrolls 6?
Yeah.
Where it at, dog?
But that's the traditional, all companies like to put a figurehead in that talks out of, and here's the thing, he may honestly believe that, but he knows that as the head of that company, he cannot make that decision responsibly for the business sector. He cannot make the decision to not take the opportunity to draw people specifically to his platform. And I get that. That's the point of business, is to try and do things to pull people away. But it is PR speak at best to say that Sony is not your competition. Sony is your competition.
It's like I think I had a great tweet the other day, and I just sent it to you so you can look at it. But it's very demonstrative of what they're doing. And it's Xbox goes, "Good morning to console players, PC players, mobile players, cloud players, and any other platform you play on players." To which I just quote tweeted it and did the "say my name" from Breaking Bad. I think it's a great tweet. Fuck everyone who didn't like it.
That is a good tweet.
But it's kind of exactly what I'm saying. If they're not competition, why don't you say PlayStation and Switch players? What are you losing by saying that? If Apple's your competition, you're fucking lying. But also, like, just say PlayStation. Just say it.
Yeah.
Say my name. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Got one big one.
It was deserved. It was deserved.
Thanks. I was really happy with that one. I'm like, this is the one. I'm blowing up.
They are. I've retweeted it.
Fuck yeah. I'm going to get a whole 2 other tweets on that. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, just saying it's an unforced error, in my opinion. Like, just using that terminology, because then it makes me go to you and be like, okay, then why can't I play this on my PlayStation? Why won't you take my $70 and just tell your fans you're getting better value? It's because they're your competition. I don't know why I said we.
Yeah, and as we've said a million times on this show, I mean, it's if Xbox, and it is, and PlayStation's been there, but they've never been this open. PlayStation's been like, hey, everybody, power to the players, but also everybody, like that big Kevin Butler speech where he came out and did, the ode to gamers or whatever, and he was
incredible.
It was. Dude, such a hype moment in gaming. And it was great because it felt inclusive without feeling like it was trying to spoon feed me the fact that here's what we want to hear from a PR standpoint. It acknowledged that there's competition, but that it's friendly and everyone's welcome. Whereas Xbox tries to do this thing, and I'm not even like hating on them in a big sense. I just don't like it when you have Phil Spencer in one breath saying, oh, we love, we think all players should be able to play everything. We're trying to take down barriers, but then you're telling me I can't play it on the opposing the competition machine. And I don't care that I can't play it on my machine. I just want you to be honest about what's going on. If you're being honest about what's going on, it's not that you're trying to cut down barriers. You're trying to cut down barriers for people to play on something you own and can make money from. You're not as worried about cutting down barriers on your competition systems because they know that if they put their game on PlayStation system, every game that's sold on PlayStation system, PlayStation will make enough money to be like, oh, damn, well, we're losing out on something we could have. It's the business aspect of that, and that they want to keep it on theirs, and that's fine. But don't spoon feed me a line to make me feel good and feel like I'm part of this great inclusive cloud of fuzzy gamers who love each other and hug. That's not how it works. Real gamers who are friendly to everything, we just know that people play other consoles and are cool with it. We're not like everybody deserves to play every game. And guess what? That may be true. Everybody does deserve to play everything, but that's not the way that the world has worked. And until that actually happens, I don't want to hear Phil Spencer tell me again that everybody should be able to play every game, and then turns out I can only play Elder Scrolls 6 on PC or I have a PC, but it's just and I would say the exact same thing if Jim Ryan came out and said, we believe all players should be able to play. Actually, PlayStation's kind of doing that. Bungie's games are going to be still released on every platform and supported on every platform. So, I mean, you know what? Here we are.
Sony, like, for all the shit we give them about what some of the stuff they do, they are actually being more when everyone plays we win than Microsoft is, who are the ones who said that shit. And again, I'm on this show multiple times being like, I think exclusives are dope. I do not care if you can't play the game as long as I can. And that's me being just selfish.
Yeah, exclusives are awesome.
have a PlayStation. You have an Xbox? Fuck you. You made the wrong choice. You don't get to play Spider-Man. Like, that's how I feel about it. I know that's shitty and people don't like that anymore because we're fucking children, apparently. But, like, I chose a PS5, so it's dope.
Well, look. Because I think it's important to specify, and I think I know the answer. Hey, Onyx, podcast cats here, everyone. What I would say, I agree with you in the spirit of fun ribbing. Like if I'm talking to a friend and he's like, oh, dude, shit, man, I wish I had a PlayStation. I really want to play Spider-Man. It's like, fuck you. I bought the PlayStation. You chose the wrong system. And then he can ribbingly say, dude, Elder Scrolls 6 is sick. I wish you could be playing it on your PlayStation. And then, fuck you. You chose the wrong system. That's fun. That's okay.
The retirement home.
But I think just so everyone knows, because I do think it's important. There's a difference between fun ribbing of people and saying, I chose the better console for what I prefer in gaming. And whenever you want that too, it's just that you chose the wrong console for that specific want. Because it's true. First of all, you did choose the wrong console for the want that you had. If you want to play Spider-Man, Spider-Man is not a game I would have thought that would be a game that would end up being exclusive to Xbox. If someone put a gun to my head 10 years ago and said, if Spider-Man was going to be exclusive on one of the two major competing platforms between Sony and Xbox, which one would it be exclusive on? I would have never in a million years thought it would have been exclusive to Xbox. Because it doesn't fit into the type of games that I typically view as Xbox exclusive. Definitely 10 years ago. But point being,
the one thing I want to say is, like, this it's not like I'm sitting here in a castle of being happy about exclusives. There's going to be a time where someone's going to go back to my old comments about exclusives and put a crying Wojak face over me when fucking Fallout 5 gets announced to Xbox exclusive, right? Like, I will sit on this show and bitch about it. But at the same time, like, I can go spend $500 on an Xbox Series Z because by the time that comes out, it'll be the next console. But it's just a matter of, like, I don't know. I like exclusives. It makes me like, oh, fuck yeah, I chose the right shit. God of War, hell yeah. And I think there's a difference to me with first party and third party exclusives. Like Sony buying Final Fantasy, it makes the value better, but that does kind of suck. But like everyone crying about Spider-Man, sorry, dog, that's a first party game. Like, I don't know what to tell you, dog. Like, are you really expecting like Sony to be like, oh, Spider-Man is a character with such rich history, so we're going to spend $100 million developing it and then let everyone play it. It's not how it works, which they're actually doing now, but regardless of the fact, they're not going to just release it day and date on Xbox. Right.
But point being, I mean, clearly it's all right, but I think that we've talked about this before. Exclusives are just the same thing as like, when your favorite team goes to the Super Bowl. It doesn't mean that other teams can't do good, but you're like, fuck you, your team didn't make it. It's just,
hell yeah.
Again, there are people that take sports way more serious than that, I guess. But to me, the fun of competition has always been around, and I like that. I like the feeling of being able to have my friend look at me and go, they bought Bethesda, you're going to miss out on playing Skyrim 2. But yeah, I mean, we've had that conversation on the show before, so I guess we don't need to retread that ground much more. But I just ultimately,
Sony shouldn't buy Square Enix.
It either needs to be all or none. Either everybody is putting all their games on everybody, or if Microsoft does truly want that to be the way of the world, which they don't because they're a business, and why would they? But if they want that to be the way that the gaming industry goes, they have to put that in motion by being the first to say, well, yeah, we bought Bethesda. and we're going to put all their things day one on Game Pass, and that's the value that we'll find there. But we're still going to release the game so that everyone has a chance to play it on any console. And technically, you can get into that dumb semantics game of if it was that you wanted everyone to play a game, then you'd make your games free and your platform free because there's people who can't afford to buy your system and your game. But that's just getting into stupidity.
I wouldn't even make that argument.
Unfortunately, there are people. Yeah, but there's someone out there who I guarantee you has made that argument against Xbox because they're mad that Xbox have made these. And I get it. Xbox has said things that are ostensibly false. We can prove that by the fact that I can't play Xbox games on my PlayStation right now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
where's my Gears of War PS5 version? Huh? Where's that?
Yeah.
Philip.
Technically, there was apparently a Gears of War 3 PS3 version. So, I mean.
Hell yeah. I would play that. Look,
it didn't release, but I mean, it existed. Also, to be fair, Killzone 3's engine was made for multi-platform, even though we never got that game on any other platform.
In the end,
I was looking into the development of Killzone Mercenary, and it was kind of cool to see that apparently most of Mercenary is just Killzone 3's engine directly ported to Vita because it was already made to be multi-platform.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Oh, I know. I still don't understand why they didn't take the PR win of $70 on PlayStation, $0 on Xbox. If they want Game Pass to be huge, I don't understand it.
Crazy good way to market too.
Insane. Yeah. You'd have even me. Well, no, not me. I'm lying. But you'd have the majority of people being like, I think I'm going to have to go with the Xbox version. I bought Wasteland 3 day one on PS5. Like, I'm full of shit. I would never do that. But
at least you know yourself.
Yeah.
That's okay. Knowing is half the battle, Chris.
Right, exactly.
All right, but man, honestly, there's not much else I think we need to talk about or that I want to talk about. What do you think the community's take should be that based off of anything we talked about today?
I was gonna pitch a community's take. Do you want to go like a main topic?
It can be wildly different.
Do you want to go back to the well of what we did previously, and we can use the community's take next week as the main topic and do what I was going to talk about? Does that make sense? What I'm saying to you? I was saying we use, instead of the community's take being a response to us, we respond to the community's take, because that was what our main topic is responding to.
Hey, take the reins. You go ahead.
So I was going to suggest that we talk about that game that's coming out. I don't know if you saw it, Press X for Trophies.
Is that literally the name of the game? Because if so, that's hilarious.
Quite literally the name of the game.
Nice.
And my idea was to talk about, and this is not a new topic. People have definitely talked about it before, but just the state of the PlayStation Store, because I know you have some thoughts, and we can even include like the state of trophies and how something like My Name is Mayo, the greatest trilogy of all time, affects the trophies and stuff like that, and affects the store, and how I was looking for Crash 4 and it took 4 pages of scrolling to find it, stuff like that. So I guess the community stake would be, what is your thoughts on easy trophy games clogging the store, or what is your thoughts on the ease of access of using the PlayStation Store or finding games with such a dearth of mediocre to bad content, I guess?
This actually kind of plays into what Josh Shoup was talking about when he was talking about subscription services having a multitude of this, not necessarily this bad, but a multitude of games that they know that nobody's ever going to want, but it just helps get your numbers up to the 700 range,
Yeah.
But it's definitely there because you got to wade through. You got to wade through a ocean of potential shit to get to the things that are good. But I don't know, man. I used to think it was getting bad, but I am curious to see, because I think a lot of people shared that sentiment for a while. Definitely when the media picked up big on Life of Black Tiger and 1000 Best Picture, whatever that thing it ended up getting delisted. It was like you put pictures together and get platinum. So I know that people kind of had that thought process, but I wonder, now that we're into the PS5 and we're many years past that kind of big hit, do you feel like that's still an issue? I mean, if they're making this game right now, it seems like the whole point of the name of this game is to mock.
Well, the game, so from what I was reading, the game is a commentary on the state of the PS Store, and its story is told through its trophies.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
Like, I kind of want to get it and see what it does.
The irony is that if this is also still an easy trophy, so that it can kind of be like making a commentary while also playing into to what it's commentating, this would be an easy trophy that I would actually be okay with getting, because I think that the art around the idea of looking at this and using it in a creative way works.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm cool with that one. So, yeah, we'll get that up and posted for you guys, and then we'll just react around. So, with that said, I think I got some Killzone to get back to. Chris, are you going to be able to stick around and get some Killzone stuff done with me? Because I need you to shoot me with a tranquilizer and let me live.
I still can't believe I got that fucking trophy just not playing the game.
I'm assuming somebody was being super cool and was like, I'm just going to shoot this guy and let him live because he's probably here for the trophies.
That would be dope. If you're a listener of this show, thanks. If you're not, I mean, thanks, but I guess you'll never hear it.
I did think just quick story time. I did think it was funny that Chris was talking about how I need to go ahead and get this downloaded. And the first multiplayer match I hop into, I match make with Chris and get like 10 kills on him for free.
Well, it's funny because I got my 10 kill streak trophy on you. Really? That's pretty cool.
I actually got my 10 kill streak on a match where everyone was active and I was just on fire. But I did get like 4 free kills on you that first match where we match made together. It was fun.
When I got mine, it was rough because it was you and one other player, and both of you were inactive, and I was the only one on my team. So I was literally just like sprinting around the map, hoping that like the icon popped up so I could find you. And then it got to like 30 seconds left, and I had 9 kills, and I'm like, no fucking way, I have to get this done now. And eventually I found you and killed you with like 1 second left, and I was like, my man,
nice. I'm proud of you. Now I think my highest streak is 14. I was trying so hard to get to 15 and I got capped, but you know, it's fun time. But now I can actually play the game instead of watching my character spin in circles. But I got to get that aces high, and the only way to do that is to constantly be making money, always be selling, as the workforce will tell you. But we'll see you guys next week. Remember that if you want to be part of the community's take, you can head over to our Discord, which is linked down in the description below. We'll be part of it over there, where you can talk with us on a daily basis, as well as give your input on what we got going on with the show. You can go over to Twitter at Triangle SQRD. And, hey, Onyx, you can find us on Facebook in the group Triangle Squared PlayStation Podcast. You can go over to patreon.com/Nartech, as I mentioned, and give us a little as $1 per month to help the show, like Mr. Matthew Tubbs did recently with his $5 a month patronage. We appreciate you, Matthew, and big shout out. One thing we do for everyone who's a patron, at least as long as it stays viable to do so, is we shout out everyone who gives even as little as $1 per month, because it's really helpful to the show. So without further ado, we will see you guys next week. And huge shout out to Matthew Tubbs, aka Sean, Awesome Dave 1337, Aztec King, Lechion 69, the Lord Corgi, Salvador Garcia, Hammond Egger, Bailey Robertson, Mark Schutz, Cypher Primus, Kyle Grimm, Rude Days 93, Kevin Baconvitz, Danny Villalobos, Jehudi MD, No Fate, Josh Ayers, Derek Porter, Constantly Kenny, Matthew Green, Sean Santarude, Steven Salazar, Shadowist, and my name is Dan. Thank each and every one of you, and we hope you're doing well.
Bye.